Hey guys, welcome back everybody. So today we're going to talk about how to configure the BGP routing protocol on the Cisco Packet Tracer. BGP, it's a very hot protocol in the network industry, right? It's not a lightweight protocol like OSPF and EGRP we have it. If I talk about the BGP, it will take a lots of time to talk about the theory only. We'll make a separate video. Why do we need a BGP protocol? What is the use of BGP protocol and how we can deploy the BGP protocol in production network? We'll make a separate video. But today's agenda is how to configure the BGP routing protocol on a Cisco Packet Tracer. As we know that BGP has a two flavor, E-BGP and I-BGP. When I talk about the E-BGP, right, it means that we are going to configure the BGP protocol between the two different company, or we can call it the two different autonomous system number. When I'm going to configure the BGP protocol within the same company, within the same autonomous system number, that's called as a I-BGP. Today we are going to talk about how to configure the E-BGP protocol, and here we are going to form the direct neighborship. We have two types of neighborship, indirect neighborship and direct neighborship as well. When I talk about the indirect neighborship, in the indirect neighborship, what happened? You are going to form the neighborship between the two different broadcast domain, right? When I talk about the direct neighborship, you're going to form the direct neighborship between the same broadcast domain, right? That's we have a two neighborship we have. Here we're going to talk about, if you see that in this topology, we have a router number one, which is the BGP AS number one, belongs to the Airtel company. And router number two, BGP AS number two, which belongs to the Geo company. Here, router number one has IP address will be 10.1.12.1/24. Router two has IP address 10.1.12.2/24. And the subnet that I'm using between these guys are 10.1.12.0/24. So it's like a direct neighborship that I'm going to form between the router one and router two, right? In the next video, we'll talk about the indirect as well. So let's configure it. First of all, what we have to do that we need to go to the CLI, and we'll enable this guy in config terminal. Host name will be router number one. Let's define the host name, and then we have interface 0/0. On this guy, we have to configure the 12.1/24. No shut. Hit enter. Now you can see that my interface is up right now, and same thing on the router number two as well. Come on, CLI, and we have a say the no and enable config terminal. Host name will be R2. And here we interface 0/0. You can see that this is the interface we have on the router number 2, 0/0. IP address will be 10.1.12.2/24. Okay, I'm not going to configure any loop back over here right now. I'm going to basically configure the BGP routing protocol and make the router 1 as a router ID 1.1.1 and router 2 has a router ID 2.2.2.2. Okay, because router ID is just a name of the router. It doesn't require the same IP address on the router side. So let's go to the router number 1, and on the router 1 say that router with a question mark, you have a bunch of options. The Cisco Packet Tracer allow you to configure the BGP protocol. So we have a BGP over here. It's a border gateway protocol. Every single word, the border gateway and protocol has a special meaning. We'll make a video on this one. And that's the BGP. And if you put the question mark, right, you have an option to give the autonomous system number. Autonomous system number is a 2-byte and the 4-byte as well. The Cisco Packet Tracer is supported 2-byte right now. Maybe in future they will update to the 4-byte, but it's a 2-byte number. So AS number 1, I'll configure this guy as a BGP router ID will be 1.1.1. And I'm going to form the neighborship. Remember one thing, BGP routing protocol do support the dynamic neighborship as well. Right now we are doing the static neighborship. Most of the time in the production network, you see the static neighborship as well. But in some scenario, right, in production network, people are deploying the dynamic neighborship as well. One of the best and beauty feature of the dynamic neighborship you can see in the DMVPN scenario. Also the neighbor router 1 to the 12.2, right? And as the remote AS will be 2. That's all, right? Because this is my AS number, that's local AS number, and router 2 is going to use the AS number 2. Same thing on the router number 2 now. I have to go router BGP number 2, right? That's my AS number for the router number 2. It's a Geo company, right? And Geo is going to form the neighborship with the Airtel. So the router ID for this guy is a 2.2.2. If you see, I don't have this IP address on the router side, right? I don't have this IP address on the router 2.2.2, but still I can configure the router ID. And I use the do keyword. Just, if you're going to do any kind of verification in the config terminal mode, right? So you have to use the do command. Now I can say the neighbor 12.1 So the remote AS would be 1. And see the magic right now, my neighborship is came up. And you can also verify the so BGP summary, right? I think so this command is not going to work over here. Let me check. Okay, the keyword is IP, they are taking it right now, but if you go to the GNS3 and older iOS router, they can take the IP keyword. Without IP keyword, you can also do that, right? Now we have, you can see that router number 2 is identified as 2.2.2.2. That's my router ID, and the local AS number is 2 right now. And I have a neighborship with the 12.1, right? You can also check on the router number 1 as well. Come on. You can go and check the do show IP BGP summary, and you can see that my local AS number is 1 and router ID is 111. And I can have a neighborship with the 12.2, right? You can also use the command so IP BGP neighbor, right? You can see that it will show you the detailed information. So router 1 is forming the neighborship with the 12.2, remote AS number 2, and this is the external link. The external link is going to tell you that it's a E-BGP neighbor. If you have a iBGP, it will tell you the internal link. I can see that my neighbor is running with the BGP version 4 and the remote router ID is 2.2.2.2. That's the neighbor information. So router 1 is saying to the router number 2, hey, listen, the remote router has a router ID 2.2.2. That's I can see on the router number 1. So BGP has a 4 version, okay, version 1, version 2, and version 3. Till the 3 versions, we do not use it. It's a classful. And everywhere nowadays, you will only encounter the version 4 only, right? And now you can see that the BGP stat is established right now. Till the 1 minute, 1 second ago, the session was established. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in the next video for the E-BGP indirect neighborship, and so on will go down. Thank you.